Asher's last image before leaving was Violet's face, contorted in frustration as she realized she'd been played. He strolled down the hall, whistling a happy tune, practically dancing to it. Even though it was the dead of night, he walked like he owned the place, which, technically, he did. He loved manipulating people. This was his game, his world, and everyone danced to his tune. But this time, the thrill was even better because Violet was no ordinary pawn. She was his queen. He loved sex for sure, and sex with his queen was going to be mind-blowing. But right now, the thrill of victory was enough. Asher thrived on this feeling of total control, just like his dad had taught him. He was the king here, and nobody could touch him. Nobody was as good at this game as he was. He was the ultimate puppet master. Alpha Asher, Brody Allen, the dorm RA, greeted him respectfully. Each dorm usually had a non-teaching staff member in charge of supervising students and reporting to Principal Jameson. But ever since the Cardinal Alphas took over, that system has been basically useless. Since each alpha had its own RA, the Cardinal Alphas pretty much ran their own dorms, and Asher had Brody wrapped around his little finger. The guy gave him all the info about West House. Brody knew better than to cross the alpha of West House. "Brody," Asher replied. "Anything I can do for you, sir?" Brody asked, practically tripping over himself to be helpful. "Nah," Asher said with a smirk. "Just taking care of business. Caught the little ladybug who tried to make a run for it earlier." "What?" Brody asked, confused. He didn't push it, though. Asher was already walking away, whistling his tune like it was no big deal. If Asher had relied only on Brody, Violet would have been long gone. She was smart, no doubt, but she was also reckless. What made her think Lunaris Academy, practically a fortress, relied on regular humans for security? The school had plenty of enemies, rogue werewolves, anti-werewolf groups, and others who'd love to break in and steal stuff or kidnap students. Lunaris had seen it all. So, they had a super tight security system. Each house assigned werewolves to patrol the campus on regular shifts. They couldn't cover every single spot, especially the thick woods. But they did a pretty good job keeping everyone safe. Students, teachers, and even visitors relied on them, trusting the power of the Cardinal Alphas. This total trust made the Alphas even more powerful. No one questioned them, no matter what they did. They were in charge, completely. Around here, they weren't just leaders. They were like rock stars. The cool night air felt good against Asher's skin as he left the dorm. He spotted the 4 werewolves patrolling nearby right away. These were the same guys who'd chased Violet back earlier, just doing what they were told. When they saw Asher, they stopped and turned towards him. Then, they walked over quietly. Each wolf was a cool shade of brown with different markings. The biggest one, obviously the leader, stepped forward. His blue eyes showed he recognized and respected Asher. They didn't need to talk. The wolves shifted back to human form. Bones cracked and popped, skin stretched, and fur disappeared. Asher barely reacted to the weird, painful-looking changes. He was used to them. Seconds later, a tall, muscular guy stood where the biggest wolf had been. His damp, curly brown hair stuck to his forehead as he breathed heavily. He stood tall, not caring that he was naked. Werewolves didn't worry about stuff like that. "Good job, Elias," Asher said, complimenting his second-in-command. "No problem, Alpha," Elias replied respectfully. "Of course it was no problem," Asher said, his voice a little creepy, "which is why I'm going to give you something to do." Elias frowned, confused. "What do you mean, Alpha?" "I want someone watching Violet," Asher said. "She might try to run again. Pick some guys to keep an eye on her." He paused, staring hard at Elias before adding, "Or maybe you'd rather do it yourself." Elias stood up straighter. "But Asher, I have way more important things to do than babysit some human. It's Alpha Asher to you," Asher snapped, "and you'll do what I say." A low growl rumbled in Elias's chest, sounding wild and angry, his body tensed, his wolf side almost taking over, ready to fight. Asher didn't even blink. He just growled back, even louder and scarier. Werewolves are naturally aggressive and hot-headed, so fights over power, dominance, and pride are common. Challenges to the Alpha's authority, even in a tight-knit pack, happen all the time. These power struggles, especially among those who want to be the leader, are as expected as they are brutal. Unlike Griffin, Roman, and Alaric, who are friends with their pack members, Asher treats his pack like soldiers. They follow his orders, and he makes sure they have what they need to survive and thrive. He believed his dad's advice. Friends are often the first to stab you in the back. So he leads without getting close to anyone, keeping them under his thumb. In that tense moment, Asher's alpha power filled the air, radiating like a shockwave. The tension between him and his beta, Elias, was thick enough to cut with a knife. They were locked in a standoff that felt like it could explode into violence any second. The other werewolves nervously glanced at each other, uncomfortable with the drama. They knew these showdowns rarely ended peacefully, and it looked like Elias would be the one getting hurt. Asher stood rigid, every muscle tense and ready. "Do you really want to do this now, Elias? You really think you can take me?" His voice dripped with cocky confidence, a clear reminder of how powerful he was. Elias's rebellious look flickered in his blue eyes, but quickly died under Asher's intense stare. Knowing he couldn't win, he looked down, giving up. "Thought so," Asher said smugly. He walked towards Elias, each step slow and deliberate, until he was right in front of him. He grabbed Elias's chin, forcing him to look up. Asher's golden eyes burned into Elias's now submissive blue ones. "When I give an order, you follow it," Asher said, his voice ice cold. "Next time you think about challenging me, be ready to finish what you start. I don't put up with cowards." His words sounded almost gentle, but the steel in his voice gave away the real threat. Elias clenched his jaw, his earlier bravado melting away under Asher's stare. His defiance was gone, replaced by acceptance. "It won't happen again, Alpha," he mumbled. "Good. For your sake," Asher replied, his voice flat. His warning hung in the air. "You can go now." As Elias and the other werewolves scurried off, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Things had been so tense, many had thought Elias wouldn't make it out alive if he actually fought Asher. After his pack left, Asher stood outside, his body stiff in the cool night air. Minutes passed in silence before he spoke, his voice carefully casual. "Aren't you tired of hiding, Roman?" Roman stepped out of the shadows of West House, a slightly embarrassed look on his face. As he walked closer, he spoke up. "You know that's not how you're supposed to lead your pack, right?" Asher turned, his expression hardening, knowing exactly where this was going. They'd been down this road before, and it always ended in an argument. Usually, Asher would avoid it, but after the showdown with Elias, he was ready to pick a fight. And Roman, unlike Elias, would actually be a challenge. "What do you want me to do? Kiss their butts and thank them for challenging me?" Asher sneered. "That challenge only happened because you're a dictator, not a leader," Roman replied calmly. "I'm their alpha. I protect and lead them. The least they can do is follow my orders," Asher snapped, irritation clear in his voice. "Perhaps try leading them with kindness, and they might not be so defiant," Roman suggested, his tone calm but firm. "Sorry, but I'm not you," Asher replied coldly. "My wolves are the best, the strongest, most disciplined, because there's no room for weakness. They have a reliable alpha who isn't blinded by emotions." "Being vulnerable isn't a weakness, Alpha," Roman said, hesitating before adding, "You're not your father, Asher." At the mention of his father, anger flashed in Asher's eyes. His voice dropped dangerously as he turned on Roman. "Is that what you came here to do, Roman? Because if so, you're starting to tick me off." Roman recognized the unspoken threat. Things would escalate quickly if he pushed further. "Fine, then," Roman straightened. "What are your plans with Violet?" he asked seriously. "Why is everyone asking me that?" Asher chuckled, dismissing the question like it was some inside joke. But Roman's face remained serious, his gaze locked on Asher, emphasizing the weight of his concern. "I know what you're doing, and it's not going to work. You're only going to put that girl in danger," Roman stated flatly. "Neither will I be a part of it. Challenging the Alpha King is a death sentence, Asher." His expression softened. "For all we know, there's a higher chance Autumn won't choose you. Her family hasn't exactly been thrilled with you, so maybe you don't have to go this far." His words, however, were lost on Asher. Asher's laughter faded as he leaned closer, a sly look on his face, his voice a low, seductive whisper. You never know what might work until you try, he teased, a dark edge creeping into his tone. And you never know what you like until you have a taste of it. Roman recoiled, understanding he wasn't just speaking figuratively this time. It was about Violet. Shock and disapproval filled his face. The implication hung heavy in the air. He was reminded once again of Asher's unpredictable nature and how far he'd go to get what he wanted.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.